when you know that your man is cheating on you and the person he is cheating with just blows up his phone with text messages and phone calls?
I guess some people just want to hear you say it. Because, I mean, what? That can't be a... Y'all already know the answer to that one. So does that happen a lot here? The man cheating and the woman disrespecting, blowing up the phone? You know what? Obviously, if you're in that relationship and you're staying, it means that you love them and you care and you want to see it work out. So what you need to do is sit them down one day. And I always say, in a time of peace, prepare for war. Sit them down on a good day and talk to them and say, you know, this is very disrespectful. This woman, she's blowing up your phone. And give them a stern talking to. Room tone, no cursing, no yelling. Use some I feel statements. I feel like you're disrespecting me. I feel like you've fallen out of love with me. I feel like you take me for granted. And I want to let you know that if this continues, I'm not going to be here. And when you say that, when you give that speech, you got to know that you're at that breaking point, that you're done, and that the next time it happens, that you're leaving. And that might mean going and getting a hotel or staying with a friend for a week. Because, see, sometimes when you leave, a person doesn't sit down to listen until you stand up to walk away. And when you do that, a lot of times, that's when a person has to look inside and they have to decide what they really want. And it takes you walking away to change your situation. But if you've never left, and if you've never left to where you meant it and the person thought that you were never coming back, then you haven't really scared them to that point to where it inspires them or it pushes them to change. So have a talk first and then make some moves.
How do you reconcile loving yourself and putting value in what you believe versus compromising in order to keep the peace?
You should never compromise your self-worth or your self-respect. So if compromise meaning allowing your partner to cheat on you to keep peace, that's not a relationship. That's slavery. If compromise means allowing your partner to beat on you or to disrespect you, to talk to other people and have these emotional cheating with someone else to keep the peace, that's not a compromise. So compromise really is when, you know, he wants your son to go to this school because it's closer, or to play this sport because he loves it, but you want him to play another sport, and so you say, okay, we'll let that happen. That's the extent of compromise. My wife, our biggest argument right now is should my son play football or not. So I have to compromise because she doesn't want him to get brain injuries, and so I have to give up the fact that I played football all my life, and I compromise that. So, but that's not compromising my self-worth, my self-respect, my self-love. So understand that if it means hating yourself, loving yourself less, you should never compromise those things. But if it's, should we move here? Should we spend this? Should we buy this? Those compromises, they're okay. You know, should I quit my job so that I could be home with the kids because you can take care of the finances? That's an okay compromise if that's a decision that you make and you'll be happy with that decision. Or should I go to work? Or should I work 2 jobs because we need the money? That's an okay compromise. But don't compromise your self-worth and your self-respect.
What is the difference between loving someone? What is the difference between loving someone and being in love with someone?
Loving someone and being in love with someone. What you have to realize is that sometimes we have people that we're in a relationship who love and treat their pet better than they treat us. So what I want you to understand is that love is so many different levels to love. And there's one type of love to where you're with somebody to where if you died or something happened to you, they'll cry. Then there's another type of love, which is in love, to where they'll take a bullet for you. So you got to be able to recognize the difference and understand that when someone loves you, you never have to question it. When someone is in love with you, let me change that. When someone is in love with you, you never have to question it. If you have to wonder about their love, they're not in love. Because when a person falls in love, love is so consuming. It's almost overwhelming. It almost makes you just want to, ooh. But it's a good ooh. It's not an ew. And so you have to understand that. And in love is a compromise to where you let go of your selfish acts or your selfish beliefs to give someone else the love that they need. And you step outside of what you want and you give them what they want because that's what they need. So a small example is my wife. She loved to dance. She loved the roller coasters. She's an outgoing personality. So for my birthday, she would plan a roller coaster day and then a night at the club dancing. I am dinner and the movies. So when she finally fell in love with me, then she would sacrifice what she wanted to do and do what I needed. And then when I fell in love with her, I would sacrifice what I wanted to do. So I said, you know what, because I love her and we were out in Mexico, I did something I would never, ever do. I did the bungee jump. I did the zip line. I did snorkeling. This stuff that I would never, ever do in my life. But I did it to show her I will be shaking in my boots and crying, almost use the bathroom on myself to show you how much I love you. And I made that compromise. That's the difference between love and in love.
How would one deal with a sexual desire imbalance between two partners in a committed relationship?
A sexual desire imbalance. And I saw the other card that was like this one, and it was like, you know, what do you do when you in a relationship, but you can't enjoy it because you've had much better sex? And so that soul tie is hindering your relationship. Now, see, when that's the case, for one, you have to realize that you are not in love yet. Because when you fall in love, sex is a plus, not a priority. And you have to realize that because when you are in love, anything could happen to your partner to where they may not be able to have sex. Your partner could have a stroke. And if you're in love, you're going to push them in that wheelchair, and you're going to feed them and bathe them, and you're going to be there for them. Your partner could have cancer and be going through chemotherapy and have no sexual desire, no sex drive whatsoever. And if you're in love, it's going to feel just as good as having an orgasm when you're in love. When you just have love, which really is also lust, at the lowest level, that's when sex really matters. Because when you fall in love, you find ways to please yourself during sex. When you fall in love. So what that means is you learn how to work the motion in the ocean so that you're okay. You learn how to be creative. And when two people fall in love, guess what? The strongest sexual organ is the mind. So when your mind is in it, that means also your heart is in it. Sex feels totally different. And you don't need all these tricks, all these sliding from poles, all of these stuff, all these whips and chains. You don't need all that when you have real love. So first what you need to do is get some counseling. You need some counseling to realize why you so turned up like this. Why you so turned out like this. And why you need this level of sexual activity to be happy, to be pleased. And then after that, you need to start to work and put yourself on a challenge to where you talk to your partner. You sit and you have hour to 2 hour long conversations. And you listen as much as you talk, and you make love to one another's mind, and you fall in love with who they are, and you become best friends with your partner. And you talk like to that. You talk with them like that every day. And I guarantee you, when your heart and mind is in it, sex feels totally different.
What happens if you're in a situation where you need space and the person won't leave to make things better because they think that you want space to cheat?
In a situation and you need space, but the person won't leave because they think you need space to cheat. You know what? You're going to have to create that space. And see, a lot of times we want the other person to leave because leaving is always the hard thing to do. So we want to put it on them to leave because we don't want to walk away, because we don't want that on our conscience deciding whether we did the right thing or not. But if you need that space, you have to create that space. I remember when I first got with my wife, 2 months into it, I was controlling and toxic, and she said, we need a break. She didn't tell me that I needed to leave or stop calling. She said, we need a break. And she took it upon herself to take that break, and she stepped away, and that gave me the time to realize what I was doing wrong. So the next time when I was able to get her back 6 months later, I knew what not to do. So you got to take it upon yourself to step away, to pull back, stop answering phone calls, if they come to your door, let them stand outside and knock. If they get crazy, call the police. You have to create that separation.
How do you allow a man to be a man when they are not showing the initiative?
How do you allow a man to be a man when they're not showing the initiative?
These are some good questions.
Yeah, some good questions. Some hard questions. You know what? First, you got to realize what a man is. You got to understand what a man is. And you allow him to show initiative by putting the ball in his court. So when you say, look, John, I was thinking that maybe we should move over here to this place because it'll be a little cheaper for us. And I wanted to get your input on that. What do you think about that? So you ask him, you give him the opportunity, you give him a few decisions that you already know the answer to, but you ask him to make him feel like he's calling the shot. And you ask it in a way that he might answer it the way you want it to be answered. But then if he answers it the opposite of what you want, you follow his lead anyways. That's how you give the man initiative. A lot of times, as with women, is you're so smart because you use both sides of your brain and everything is clicking on all cylinders, and you're so used to being alone, you're so used to being independent that you come into a relationship and you could go to the store and buy a vacuum cleaner. One of my clients did this for real. Went to the store with her new boyfriend, bought a vacuum cleaner and a CD. Because she was so used to raising her child by herself and being independent, she picked up the vacuum cleaner and handed him the CD. That hurt him. That crushed him. He was like, why did you do that? I'm the man. Why you pick up the vacuum cleaner and hand me this little CD? He wanted to be the man. He's strong. She said, I'm just used to being on my own. I'm used to taking care of my 8-year-old son by myself. So you give a man the opportunity to be a man and let him be needed. Allow him to be needed and allow him to take initiative. And once you do that a few times, he'll step up. But the reason why he's probably not taking initiative is because subconsciously you've been stepping on his throat ever since you met him. And so he's shrunken.
And here's a tie-in question. Do you think the independence of women has impacted relationships? The attitude of women is, I don't need a man, I can buy my own things, house, car, etc.
Yes, most definitely. And you have to realize there's a difference between independent and interdependent. So when you understand that a man's sole thing, what a man wants to do is protect and provide. So you may make more money than him, but if you love him and you know he loves you and that he's willing to lead your family the way that it needs to go, even if you make more money, let him call the shot because he's wired to lead. You became a leader because you were forced to be a leader. You were forced to be independent. But your true nature, you have to tap back into that. Your true nature is to allow this man to be a man and allow him to protect you and be a hedge of protection over you. And when you assume that, knowing that he won't take you into a ditch, that enhances your relationship so much more. But if you come into a relationship where you should be interdependent, but you're still independent, you will sabotage that relationship, and he won't feel like a man. And what that will make him do is he'll feel like he has to go searching elsewhere. And that woman on the side, she gonna make him feel like a king. He ain't gonna be paying a single bill over there, and he gonna be calling shots over there. Because she know what you doing wrong, and she gonna try to do exactly the right thing. So once you recognize and you realize that, and you say, you know what, I trust this man, I trust that he loves me, I trust that he won't hurt me, I'm gonna let him call some of these shots. I'm gonna let him carry the vacuum cleaner. I'm gonna let him take the trash out. I'm gonna let him mow the lawn. I'm gonna let him call the shots. I'll pay the bills. I'll write the checks, but I'm gonna tell him, hey, we need $1,000 to cover the bills on the first. And I'm gonna let him lead. And I'm gonna let him be who he was created to be, because I'm gonna tell you one thing about a man. If you strip a man's dignity or his self-worth, that man is living on his knees, and he would rather be dead. And that's not the same thing with a woman. You okay taking instruction. You're okay in your true nature. You're okay being softer or being submissive, but you've been forced to be something other. If you got a good man, allow your true nature to show. My wife really strong, really, really strong, but she asks me every single question about what we should do in our household when I know she has the strength and the wisdom to make the decision on her own. She's showing effort to say, you are the man, you are the head. If I make a bad decision and it happens, she doesn't throw it in my face. She'll love me through it and give me the next decision to make.